Gently, gently. Go ahead.
And to launch our project, we launched at a park nearest to our school. The first step was we had to cut out wings. And the second step was we made Play-Doh guys. Then the teacher was cutting the bottles, and she cut 2 balls for each bottle. Then we glued it and taped it and stuff. Then we went to the park and we got our kites prepared. Then we went and then we launched the rockets. They went super high, super far. All the kids were like running when it launched and hit the ground. And all the guys were in pieces. And people brought kites like I did. And I flew mine and it can go really high. And there was things besides kites, like little padded airplanes you throw in and you see how far they go. But where does the wing help?
Where does the wind? Well,
No,
you know.
the wings help.
Oh,
That is so it can go extra fast.
extra fast and
It goes
straight and smooth. So we'll do some experiments. First of all, we'll try it with the fins on and we'll do some observations. Then we'll test it with the fins off and we'll do some observations. We'll do it with, wait, what other combinations could we test?
With no water.
With no water. That's a good idea.
No water.
So do you think we should try those 3 different types out? Okay.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I haven't launched this one over here yet.
I want to go first. I do. Can I go first? I want to go first. Can I go? This is going to be awesome. And we launched the rockets by pump. And we had some of the main teachers had to get launchers for the rockets. So the pump went into the launcher, the bottle went on the launcher, and we pumped it.
1.
Pump! And that was about it for today. I'm telling you about Leonardo da Vinci.
What do you think's the coolest thing about Leonardo?
That he's an engineer and he created the first flying machine. And he accomplished many things.
What were some of his inventions he made?
He made army tank that has wheels and cannons. The aerial screw. Motorized cart. Well, the very first cart. The boat where you spin the wheel and it moves in the water. The flying machine. And the parachute with a guy in it on it. He made art.
Mm-hmm.
He painted a picture of Mona Lisa, and she had to stay in a position for a week.
Where did Leonardo keep all of his work?
In a lost notebook. In a lost notebook. He used to have a long time ago. He'd write it a lot, and now it's lost. But people found it and made his inventions to their inventions.
He tried to keep his work secret. How did he keep his work secret?
By writing the work in code. Writing his name in code. Writing the things in code and backwards in a mirror.
What did he study to help him think about flight and flying machines?
Birds and bats and other animals that fly.
about Leonardo da Vinci, and he knew a lot about birds, and we learned about airfoil shapes and birds' shapes, and we learned how that less air goes over the wing and more air goes on the bottom of the wing. We looked on tablets and found out a lot about birds and how they fly. They have hollow bones and strong muscles so they can flap their wings for a long time. We learned how an airfoil shape is big and then it goes smaller. So wingspan, for easy example, for a wingspan, you can use your arms and you can use a string. We made big wingspans for each different birds. I'm going to talk about the kites who invented the first kite. So who invented the kite were the Chinese people, and they were made out of silk and string and all of that. Then it came spreading because people had been using them to fight their enemies, and then they became popular to books. For example, why they became popular is because it was all about funness, science-ness, and also fighting our enemies. That didn't happen anymore. It was all about fun and science. It spread all around the world. Yeah. And then
I'm going to ask you one more question, okay? Can you tell me how kites are important for science? What do they do for science?
So, you know how it gets cold in the air sometimes and you have to wear jackets like what I'm doing right now? Okay, so that's because they wanted to measure how cold it's up in the air and why it's on the ground it feels that way. We learned about hot air balloons, and this was the first hot air balloon they made in the history of hot air balloons. Montgolfier brothers were the first one to have a successful field for hot air balloons. The first people to go in, they weren't really people. The first animals who got to ride a first hot air balloon was a sheep, a duck, and a chicken, which is a funny fact. We're building them for exhibition so you could see what they look like for our first draft and our second draft. The first people to fly an airplane were the Wright brothers. They made an airplane, but they flied it and it worked, and then they become a team to work on airplanes, and they made airplanes all along in their life. Gliders and planes sometimes have the same parts, like they both use wings to fly. Planes have 4 forces and gliders have 3. Planes need engines and gliders don't. A glider it's kind of like a plane, but it's like a really small plane. But a hang glider there's a trapezium, and then you hang on it, and then you lean left or right to turn. So a hang glider has a trapezium, and it has wings, like really big wings, almost like half of an airplane wing. Gliders have like typical parts. Gliders and planes they both use drag
weight, and lift. And planes have one more. They have thrust. That's what makes them go forward. We had an expert come in named Kevin. He works for the Air Force. He showed us pitch, yaw, and roll. He taught us about gliders, and he brought in a real glider. Wish I could fly on it.
So, how he gets off the ground is that he goes on a really tall mountain, and then he has to run very, very fast, and then he has to jump off the mountain, and then he flies up. That's what I was saying.
Miles where you have to run for a hang glider to fly.
You have to tilt and turn to get a hang glider to change its directions. Blueprints are papers to show people how to build. Blueprints are detailed designs. They're used for building and to communicate with architects. Made them to collaborate with other people.
We made blueprints so we know exactly how to build our flying machine. And I added a key and symbols to make my blueprint even more precise.
So there's different viewpoints in it. You can either do the front or you can do the top of it. Like this one has the top and the side. The challenges for us with them is you had to use a ruler to make straight lines and don't move the ruler. If you were trying to make a circle like that, you had to find something shaped as a circle so you can trace that so it has perfect straight lines. And you want to make sure you add labels and measurements, because if they start trying to build it, they don't know how tall it will be or how big or how wide. And also it's kind of hard. You have to make sure you have labels so they know what that part is, or because if they make it the back but it was supposed to be the front.
I decided to make a sled kite. I wanted to make a sled kite because I thought it sounded kind of cool. And I watched a video about sled kites, but I'm not sure how I was going to make that. And there were no trash bags, so I decided to make it my own way, like how a sled looks like, and how I can make it into like a kite. And on my first draft, I made it a little heavy. It couldn't fly, it kept breaking. And then my second draft, it worked really good. And the name of my kite is Snowball. You can call it Snowball, Experiment 101, or Experiment 626. And the materials I used was tissue paper. I also used some popsicle sticks, and I made a parachute just in case someone would like to ride it. It works really good. I made the parachute out of tissue paper and straws. I cut the straws, and it works really good. I haven't started making my little guy, and I did a lot of hard work. I'm on my second draft, but I like my second draft. I think it's really good, so that's what I want to show people at POP.